This program is powered by Competition102 and Acres BMW and Mini.
Deep in the south of Belgium lie the green and flowing Ardennes. These hills, with their ever-changing weather, have seen many historic battles throughout the centuries. And today those battles continue in a more peaceful manner, yet perhaps just as fierce, fought out on one of the most famous racing tracks of them all, Spa-Francorchamps. Welcome to the fourth round of the Competition102 GT4 European Series.
In this program we see some new and familiar faces in the championship. We look at the progress made by the KTM team and of course both races from the beautiful 7-kilometer long track at Spa-Francorchamps. But first, the news. After the humongous shunt at the last race in Austria, Sofia Car Motorsport has elected to only send one car to Spa-Francorchamps. After sharing his car with two compatriots for the last two races, José Luis Talarman will now be flying the flag on his own. Team owner Rosen Daskalov is back on the pit wall after his horrific crash at Spielberg. Jörg Fiban, who collided with the Sin, is back behind the wheel of a car, but it's not the car he's used in the opening races. For the race in Belgium, he joins Las Morris Racing with a bright blue BMW. We probably will not be seeing him again with the good old trusty Aston Martin for the remainder of the season.
The car is a total wreck. It really is something for the damp. You can throw it away, and that's why I catch up with Las Morris. Lizette's car was available, so they offered me the car right away, so I'm very glad they gave me that opportunity.
And we are very glad he wasn't hurt in that shunt in Austria. There are some new faces in the paddock as well. Toleman Motorsport enters a Ginetta G55 GT4, normally competing in the British GT Championship. The British drivers David Patterson and Luke Davenport take the opportunity to practice the Belgian track before they race it again next month in their own championship. Dutch brothers Tristan and Jorik Boersma made their debut in the Competition102 GT4 European Series on home soil. And now they're back for another crack at the championship. The pair will share a BMW M3 in the AM class and they target a podium here at Spa-Francorchamps. Another driver we haven't seen in the GT4 paddock for some time is Dutchman Sandor van Es. He will take over the seat of Luc Brahms and share the Chevrolet Camaro with his former rival and teammate Duncan Huisman.
Duncan called me because his teammate Luc is not driving because of private circumstances. Well, to be here, that's great for me because even with a go-kart, this track is amazing. And then with this V8, with all this power, and well, that's one big fun. I don't know this car, it's quite heavy, quite big, so I'd get used to that. But now in the second practice, I got up to speed at the end, and at the end I drove the second time, so that's great.
They say if you don't like the weather at Spa, wait 5 minutes. That's how frequently it changes, but with misty drizzle drifting across the Ardennes, it looks like it's going to be a damp start to the racing weekend. Duncan Huisman on pole in the fearsome Camaro V8, and all of that horsepower may not help him trying to find grip on the slick surface. Alongside him is Ricardo van der Ende. And it's going to be a difficult business trying to find pace and grip around this Spa-Francorchamps circuit. It can be dry at one end and soaking at the other. Luke Davenport lines up in third in the Ginetta G55. Nice debut for the car. Good strong pace in qualifying for Toleman Motorsport. Ready for the rolling start then. The first of the two races, round 7 of the championship. And on board with our pole sitter Duncan Huisman, he's the man who's supposed to be leading the field round, but Ricardo van der Ende seems to have gone when he fancied it anyway. The most monumental jump start. Van der Ende skates around the first corner and loses almost all of that extra time, and surely he's going to get a penalty for that. Van der Ende leads, Huisman in second place, Simon Knapp running very wide there, showing just how slippery it is as they plunge down past the old Grand Prix start line and into the fearsome Eau Rouge, climbing through Radion, the fast left, and then all the way up the Kemmel Straight, where there is no substitute for power or grip, and spinning around Thomas Krebs. Somehow they all miss the Porsche. On board with Krebs, chasing the Ginetta. Yikes, just over those curbs there, as slippery as ice, enough to unsettle a Porsche and loop him into a spin. Simon Knapp's view, a couple of cars further back, KTM in front, he's almost completely unsighted. We can see because we're in the passenger seat. Yikes, that was close. And Simon Knapp losing a couple of extra places as well from that lost momentum. Up at the top of the hill at Les Combes, very wet indeed, really filthy conditions. Simon Knapp though chasing Sasha Halleck in the KTM Crossbow. Of course, a brand new car, hasn't raced in the wet before, so the KTM might be at a bit of a disadvantage against the more well-known cars like the BMWs, the Camaros, and in front of us, Marcus Clutton's Chevron GT4. So Simon Knapp taking that place. Through the gloom they come though, miserable weather. Jörg Wiebahn battling Jan Kasperlik and Marcus Clutton. Clutton goes through in the white Ginetta. Kasperlik behind him, and Wiebahn on the back of the little train in the dark blue BMW. Going to try and find a way past. Wiebahn out of Eau Rouge, towing up behind his rival, trying to keep in a higher gear than you might normally do to reduce the wheel spin. Now he's in the slipstream, visibility not great. Around the outside of Dietmar Lackinger he goes though. Wiebahn picks up another spot. On the rev limiter there, see it flashing at him, grabs a gear, and then into the braking area at Les Combes. The visibility for the drive is not great. The camera's showing that the mist is really starting to come down, not just in the trees now, but right down to ground level. It's pretty miserable for drivers and fans. Well, that huge jump start to Ricardo van der Ende, unsurprisingly spotted by the officials. Drive-through penalty for him. That means Duncan Huisman is now our race leader. Pavel Lefterov right behind him as van der Ende comes through the modern Formula One pit lane. It's now the main pit lane here at Spa. The Spa 24-hour race uses this and the old pit lane, and just about every other space they can find as well. 3 wide up the hill. Here we go. Huisman trying to defend. Luke Davenport in the Ginetta getting dropped behind, and Pavel Lefterov goes around the outside. That is really where the lightweight of the Lotus Evora comes into its own. Doesn't have the horsepower of the bigger cars, but it's nimble, light on its toes, and under braking, that really helps. And the Ginetta G55 in a similar situation. Looking down the inside of Duncan Huisman. Huisman leaving plenty of room there. The tiniest of touches is enough to unsettle the car in these slippery conditions, and the Ginetta stays on the inside. Huisman couldn't hang on. Well, on board with Pavel Lefterov, getting a slipstream up the hill from both these cars. Then coming around the outside, he's on the racing line. Not always the best in the rain because that's where all the rubber and oil are down, but just tippy toes through, and this is real edge of the seat stuff. Pavel Lefterov, the race leader. Luke Davenport trying to come up the inside. They're almost stationary. It's so slow and slippery here at the bus stop. Lefterov still has the lead. Oh, a late call to dive into the pits. He was lucky to avoid contact there. Comes to his team, comes to a halt, driving on his own, so no driver change, but still a mandatory stationary period for him. And in too comes Ricardo van der Ende to hand over to Bernhard van der Randje.
Yeah, I think not a lot went wrong. In the regulations, they say you need to accelerate between the 70 and 90. That's what was on my speedo, so I did not do anything wrong. Only the pole sitter held back, and even my teammate. So I don't know, but we're gonna have a chat about that later.
Here are the leaders, Pavel Lefterov in the Lotus and the Tolma Motorsport Ginetta G55. David Patterson taking it over from Luke Davenport. Great debut these guys are having. On board with Sandor van Es. Good run here through Eau Rouge. The other Camaro right in front, squirming over the curbs. Marcel Noren made a bit of a hash of Eau Rouge that time. Sandor van Es flies by, using all that V8 horsepower to go straight by his teammate up the hill. Taken over from Duncan Huisman, the car of course on pole, and led early in the race. Down at Eau Rouge, this is Jörg Wiebahn in the blue BMW, Carsten Struer in the Porsche Cayman. And Wiebahn going around the outside and then to the inside. That was a good pass. Pit stop for Tristan Boersma. And Yorick will take over the BMW. Pit window now closed, so they came in just in time. However, not everybody has seen their car arrive. Peter Ebner waiting for the KTM to come in, and this is a major error. The pit window is now closed. They're still going to have to stop, but there's bound to be a penalty here. Dear oh dear, that's a massive miscue. This car's been so competitive so far in Zandvoort. And then at the Red Bull Ring, Pavel Lefterov with a big lead out front. David Patterson can't stay with the Lotus in the G55. That drying nicely now, on board with Daniel Uckerman. And that's Yorick Boersma's BMW. Boersma right behind the Ginetta. And you see the KTM come bumping its way through. Peter Ebner now in the KTM Crossbow and battling with Bernhard van Aranja. And the BMW still really struggling for grip. KTM lighter, less powerful, and perhaps it's that lower power of the KTM that's really its key advantage here. Good aerodynamics, very aggressive looking car. Pavel Lefterov's team looking a little nervy. Heading towards the final lap of the race. No miscues now. The number one on the illuminated board on the side shows that he is the race leader. One more lap of Spa to go. Stop and go penalty for Peter Ebner. KTM missed the pit window, and that, I'm afraid, is going to be a very costly error. Pavel Lefterov leads, Sandor van Es in second, Bernhard van Aranja in third place as the KTM leaves. Pavel Lefterov claims victory in round 7 of the GT4 European Series. The first race here at Spa goes to the Lotus driver as he weaves across the line. Not too much, Pavel. He takes the checkered flag safely. Victory for Lefterov and for the Lotus Evora GT4. The team delighted with that, and rightly so. Pretty miserable weather, but played nicely into the hands of the lightweight Lotus. Sandor van Es, Duncan Huisman, Marcel Noren, Jelle Belen in the Camaros, second and third, but again 2 AMs in the top 4. Less power for the Lotus, and KTM may well have played into their hands in these greasy
I'm very happy
conditions.
because my team finally get the right setup, and we managed to win this race. We made a good start, and then we were improving, and it was, I don't know, good race.
And there isn't a better place to win than here at Spa, I think.
Yeah, that's my favorite track, and it's like a dream came true. I'm very happy.
Great way to break your dark in the series. Pavel Lefterov victorious at Spa-Francorchamps.
After the break, we take a closer look at the KTM Crossbow. And what's a race at Spa-Francorchamps without rain?
This program is brought to you by Acres BMW and Mini and Travoil Trading. This program is powered by Competition102 and Acres BMW and Mini.
Welcome back to the 4th round of the Competition102 GT4 European Series. Race 2 is up in a moment, but first a closer look at the striking new KTM Crossbow.
One of the most striking and eye-catching cars in this year's GT4 European Series is the KTM Crossbow. The car made its debut at Zandvoort, run by Team Zalbotech. It took the field by storm and finished both races on the top step of the podium. The strength of the car is to be found in its precise handling, as explained by Daniel Uckerman.
Strong point of the car is we have no steering help, and you feel it, you feel exactly every stone. Nobody believes me that, but you feel exactly how the car is working. And if you don't push too much, then you can use the tires for 2 hours, 3 hours, and that's the success of the car, that you don't use the tires so much than the other guys.
Following their dominant debut outing, there was a balance of performance test. They have been packed back a little, but they're still a force to be reckoned with, despite a lot of kilos extra in the car.
We had a lot of work because the new BOP. They put inside the car more than 120 kilos, then our RPMs are not more than 5,000, like a diesel. And it's a turbo engine, and you know, a turbo engine needs RPMs, and we don't have it. And the ride height is on the maximum, and yes, it makes it really, really difficult because the diffuser is not working anymore, and now it's hard to drive. Sometimes it's dangerous, like in Zandvoort, because after the long straight, the car flips a little bit in the front. I think the better way is not to downsize our car because it's a new generation of GT4 cars. I think the better way is to upsize other cars because give them more horsepower, lower ride height or less weight. And I think that's the better way because all new cars, I think, going in this direction.
After a greasy track in race 1, the drivers of the lightweight cars like the KTM and Lotus may well have been very happy to see heavy rain right before the start of race 2. Again, power would not necessarily be helpful. Pavel Lefterov, the race winner from race 1, on pole position for round 8 of the championship, the second encounter here at Spa, and Daniel Uckerman's KTM Crossbow lining up alongside in the battle of the cars that look like Darth Vader should be driving them. Well, it's not just power that's going to be a problem, visibility will as well. Here's Marcel Nuren's Camaro. Not only will he be starting behind those two drivers, but he's also starting to fog up already. Although the skies look like they might be clearing, cars will be released from behind as safety car starts, and no mistakes this time from our poleman. Pavel Lefterov making sure that he is in front. Really ought to be side by side, but, you know, racing drivers. Lefterov then with the lead as they go green. And immediately the KTM Crossbow making a charge towards the front. Daniel Uckerman on the right-hand side of the picture, trying to come around the outside of the Lotus. It's going to be very slithery here. Uckerman with a handful of lock. You can feel all the grip, or rather can't feel any of the grip there. Skates out over the curbs and through goes the Camaro. Well, Marcel Nuren immediately up to second place. Into third is the other Camaro. So Sandor van Es ahead of the KTM Crossbow, but it's Pavel Lefterov who leads them up the hill in very wet conditions indeed, and further back hard to see anything of the cars, and for the drivers visibility going to be at a real premium. And Pavel Lefterov now must try and use the lightweight and low horsepower relatively of the Lotus Evora to stay in front of the mighty muscle cars. KTM's now 4th and 5th, blue car of Jörg Wiebahn in 6th position. Challenge for 8th place here. That's Carsten Struer in the Porsche Cayman, and around the outside comes the BMW. That's a good move. Yorick Boersma looked like he had the momentum. Does he come through in front? Looking back, there he is. Yes, he has, so he's picked up that place. Meanwhile, all Camaro battle. Sandor van Es down the inside of Marcel Nuren. That's the change for second place. And leaving a wall of spray behind him for Marcel Nuren to try and navigate his way through in these very wet conditions. Bernhard van Oranje, same deal. Wall of water thrown up by the car in front. And, oh, a misted up screen not helping either. Runs in a little too deep at Les Combes. Manages to come back on behind the Porsche. Jörg Wiebahn down the inside at the hairpin at La Source, going by Peter Ebner. Look at them. trying to find the grip there. And look how close this gets on the exit. That's about as much as you want. Ebner all over the curbs. Rob Savers and Yorick Borsma, the BMWs, battling into Eau Rouge. These M3 GT4s are going to be very tail happy in these conditions. Yorick Borsma in the spray, but a good run here. Has he got enough momentum? Pulls out, trying to get the lateral toe as he comes alongside. Grabs another gear. Now they're both approaching maximum velocity. And through the misty conditions, I think in the end, Rob Savers on the inside is going to hang on. Oh, Borsma's being very brave, and around the outside he goes. Savers gave him plenty of racing room there. Borsma took it with both hands. Pit window open. This battle may not continue for much longer. Dicing for 6th and 7th. In the spray there, Carsten Struer with the Sin R1 of Jose Luis Telemann behind. The Argentine driving on his own this weekend in the bright green Sin. Team down to 1, of course, after that massive shunt at the Red Bull Ring last time out. Pavel Lefterov leading from the Camaros. They've stayed out. Daniel Uckerman, Jörg Wiebahn, and all these guys are now going straight into the pits. Well, everybody will be aware of the penalties. David Patterson handing over to Luke Davenport. Oh, bonnet coming off on the Ginetta. That's not going to be good news. Everybody else is heading back out on track. BMW battle resumes, nose to tail. What's the deal there with the Ginetta? Whatever it was, looks like it's been a quick fix. That might not actually hold them up too much. Duncan Huisman signing autographs, waiting for his teammate to come in. And right on cue there was Sandor van Es. Change is all done, and away goes the Camaro, looking for another podium here. What about the Lotus team? Pavel Lefterov leading early on, and the wetter it is, perhaps the better it is for the Lotus. Pit window now closed. Lefterov with the lead. Camaros chasing. Sun is out. Now, if the track dries, who is going to benefit here? If they're all still on wet, the bigger, heavier, more powerful Camaro is going to lose out again because they'll burn up their tyres earlier. Jörg Wiebahn slithering around, and he's had some contact somewhere. That rear bumper panel dragging there. Usually a good sign you've been rubbing wheels with a rival. Looks like it may stay attached to the car, even vaguely, so he hopefully won't be flagged into the pits. Tristan Borsma showing where the grip is and isn't available. And really rocking on there through Stavolo, charging up the hill. Pavel Lefterov has got the advantage of having a good lead over the Camaros. And that means he can now hunt out the wet patches and try and preserve his tyres. He's going through the water as much as possible. Running through the puddles on the straight throws up lots of spray, but actually what it really does is it hardly reduces the driver's control. It does put the tyres through a nice cold water bath though, and that hopefully will help preserve them. He leads from the Camaros of Duncan Huisman, Jelle Belen, Daniel Uckerman in 4th, the KTM Crossbow ahead of Jörg Wiebahn, Sasha Halleck in 6th position ahead of Ricardo van der Ende in his BMW. Daniel Uckerman also looking for a bit of cooling water. Can't really afford to do that though in Eau Rouge. You've got to be on the line or you're in all sorts of trouble. Ricardo van der Ende chasing Jörg Wiebahn. See how much it's starting to dry out now. This is really where experience is going to count, and van der Ende has got plenty and bravery to go with it. Around the outside of Wiebahn at Blanchimont, that's very fast indeed, especially on worn wets on a drying track. Car will feel like you're driving on jelly, not on rubber. And right in front of him, Sasha Halleck, he's closing in. It's a great view from on board. Will he be able to close on the KTM in front as the clock ticks down? End of the final lap, and in wet conditions and wet to dry conditions, the result is the same at Spa. Both races, victory for Pavel Lefterov and for the Lotus team. And that's a fantastic effort from ASC Bulato Racing. Lefterov winning again. Camaro's second and third. Uckerman fourth, ahead of Ebner and Halleck with no miscues in their pit stop this time. Double victory in Spa-Francorchamps for Pavel Lefterov. I'm sure he is absolutely thrilled with the weekend.
The race was very tough, but I think we do well. We start very well, and I just going faster and faster, and then in the end the track get dry. And I was looking for some water, so I was not looking for the dry line, I was looking for the wet line, and I think that works.
In contrast to the Lotus, the Camaro drivers were always going to struggle.
Well, the first two laps I thought I had a chance, but then it started to dry out really quickly, and I decided to save the tires because we know cars have some difficulties with the rear tires, and especially compared to the other car, our tire wear is a lot more than the other car. So I just wanted to bring home and get some points because it's still 2 more weekends to go, and I still want to fight for the championship.
Well, Huisman still very much in the hunt for the pro category title. Teammates Marcel Nuren and Jelle Bielin are leading. In the hunt for the AM crown, Daniel Uckerman's KTM crossbow still on top, but Pavel Lefterov took a big step towards catching him here this weekend. Well, the weather may not have played ball, but Spa-Francorchamps always produces good results and entertains the drivers and the crowd. And from one historic racetrack to another, the next time out will be at the Nürburgring in the nearby German Eifel Mountains. For more information, check out GT4Series.com. Until the next time, thanks for watching and goodbye.
GT4 European Series supports Project Mine.